Thanks for joining, everybody. I'm very grateful that this initiative exists. It's an inspiring collection of stories and projects to be part of also. I will tell you something about my ecological project and also a small sidetrack of another sludge-related project I'm doing at the moment. What sludge is, I will come back to later. My name is Thom Bindels and I'm part of Studio Amper Design. And together with Teun Vogel and a company called Eye Opener Works, I've started a foundation called ecological. It's a holistic non-profit aimed to restore natural ecosystems and improve food security for communities in the most vulnerable areas for erosion and drought. My perspective on soil changed a lot over the years. First, for me, earth, soil, dirt, they were all kind of the same, thing. Also, from a culturally Dutch perspective, it's a very dead material. How can I use it functionally for human benefit? And later on, in collaboration with ecologists and also farmers, I actually found out that it was much more than just a material to build with or to stand on. It's also a living system and it holds actually the solutions to most of the biggest challenges of our time. When I graduated the Design Academy almost 4 years ago, I researched for my graduation project a very specific refugee camp in Jordan called Zatari, where the majority of the Syrians go for safety from the war. And these refugee camps, they are positioned in a very dry and desolate area with a lot of degraded soils and landscapes. And because of climate change, most of the year there is only drought, and sometimes when it rains extremely strong and extreme, causing the absurd situation where you look at a desert area with floodings, also causing a lot of problems for the refugee sites. This water cannot infiltrate into the soil because of the dusty and dead top layer. And this problem is actually not specific to only this area, but it affects 1.5 billion hectares of land worldwide, according to the UN. So here we are in this absurd situation where dry land and a degraded area is suffering from flooding in one really short period of the year. So water is actually a resource they need desperately. And while this shows the huge scale of the problem, it also shows the huge potential of the solution. If we can tackle these 1.5 billion hectares of degraded lands, we would be able to regain 1.5 billion hectares of fertile farmland and natural ecosystems. The key would be to get the water to infiltrate into the soil, and this way it does not erode the fertile topsoil layer by flowing downstream, creating floods and poor soil quality. When the water is able to infiltrate into the soil, it helps improving the groundwater level, raising it, and plant roots can reach it. And these same plants can then open up the soil and create a barrier for the soil sediments so they don't flow downstream. And then you have returned a negative spiral, and the ecosystem is able to restore itself from there on. It just needs a small kickstart to get to that point. I designed a product that can protect the seeds in this fragile starting phase. It's a cardboard honeycomb grid that is filled with local soil to create a biodegradable terracing structure. Inside the cardboard layers are seeds from local trees, shrubs and grasses that can withstand drought and will have a strong rooting system. The fibers also hold fertilizer, really giving the vegetation a kickstart. The product has a couple of functions to facilitate the restoration of the landscape. So the cardboard protects the seeds in their first vulnerable phase from being washed away. And it helps infiltrating water by trapping it in the structure and absorbing it into the fibers. When the seedlings are strong enough to stabilize the soil with their own rooting system, the cardboard decomposes, adding much needed organic material and fertilizer into the porous soils. What is left in the landscape are vegetation strips that can protect the crops in the field from the farmers from erosion, and take over this erosion function of the cardboard structure after decomposing. These vegetational strips function as an agricultural system that has been proven to be very effective for over centuries. And this way, restoring agricultural lands also facilitates the growth of ecosystems around it. In addition to this, we from EcoKick have the goal to also facilitate jobs locally and also stimulate local production. So you can look around at the local context, what agricultural rest materials as fibers are there that we can produce these materials and products from. And eventually you create a local circular economy that also validates the project locally. So it's not a top-down idea, it's a collaboration. I've been showing a couple of pictures until now that take place in Uganda, because this is the location where we've been doing the first tests, also together with agricultural university. This is not done in the refugee setting because how Teun and me met was after my graduation project was presented as a concept, not tested, also not tested because the refugee setting is a very fragile setting to test something new. And so Teun actually told me he's been studying soil and been teaching it actually already. And he never saw a solution like this before in his book. So he said, let's develop this further. I'm a designer. I presented this as a concept. And he's a researcher. He wanted to get it into the real world and make impact. That's our common purpose. So we had some context in Uganda. It's an English-speaking country which has a lot of diversity in ecosystems within the borders. And it was a very good place for us to test the first steps of our production development and also product development. And the knowledge that is already present in these areas that we tested the product also is for us very important. So that we don't go there with our idea in their context and try to apply it, but it should be a collaboration between the knowledge of communities. And we already discovered that every region has a different soil, of course, and every community has a different relation to their soil, also culturally. So if you would go to the north region of Uganda and Karamoja, we discovered that it's not a field practice. So they go around with cattle, and the relationship between soil and cows is very different than soil and growing crops. So their knowledge helped us in a very different way than the communities in Bududa in the east, where it's wet, very hilly. There are a lot of landslides. So it's not a problem of drought, but it's a problem of the risk of landslides, where erosion is an important threat. And they could tell us a lot about digging trenches to collect the sediments already. And they told us a lot about how we could adapt the product for their type of soil, which is more clay. It can have bigger chunks, so you need thicker cardboard to catch this. You need different tools. And you need to embed the production cycle or the production unit locally in a very different way. If you want to involve the community, you also need to work with local NGOs who have very deep roots in this traditionally, not non-profit organizations that go somewhere with money from sponsors. They dig a well and then they move out again, and then the well eventually is not used anymore, or is defect. So having roots, both literally, it is a very essential step to be able to get the project carried on, even if we would not be involved anymore. So local ownership is a very important milestone for us to reach, and this is also why we do the small-scale pilots. So the pilot is not just to test the product, but it's also to get our boots on the ground and feel around what's culturally accepted. And this can be about types of vegetation, but also methods of landscape managing, water managing, a lot of design questions. So it's endless diversity of local knowledge, and this is something for me as a designer which I find extremely interesting, because I can just keep on adding projects to one starting point, and this starting point for me is soil, and it also made me realize the benefits of looking at a system in a holistic way, and being a player in a system of complexity, and constantly staying open in this. And it's actually through the question of narratives of soil that I realized that soil is the only constant in this for me. So soil and water. And what I learned from Teun, who I collaborate with, he's a researcher from the Agricultural University in Wageningen, is the landscape approach, in which you look at every aspect inside a landscape and all see them as essential parts of this organism that is the landscape. So it's not just an aesthetical picture. It's a symbiosis between ecosystems, natural ecosystems, but also communities. Because for us the local production is an essential way of also connecting the product to the specific landscapes. We are now developing very low-tech production machines that we could place in different landscapes. So as soon as something breaks, it's not a high-tech piece. People can restore it very easily, and it's also easy to invest and to become owner of the production line, because the investment step is not that big, because it's a low-tech and very simple thing. Actually, it turns out designing something really simple is maybe harder than designing something really complicated. So we've been struggling with that for a long time, but it's a wonderful process. And for me, it's beautiful to experience this huge diversity of projects that you can do when your starting point is soil. As I said in the beginning, it's really the basis of the, and if you could solve it, it could be the solution at the roots of so many big problems that we have these days. That also brings me to my other project. It started as a research project for the municipality of Rotterdam into finding circular solutions for their waste streams. And eventually I decided to research soil as a waste stream from the municipality. And I ended up on their Sludge Debose. So it's a place where sludge is brought. And sludge is actually the material that you take out of the bottom of a body of water. So in the city of Rotterdam there are a lot of small, you cannot really call them creeks because it's very flat and no water is flowing. But a lot of organic material, leaves and branches and reed falls into it. And over the years it becomes a big pile of organic sludge. And if you don't take it out, eventually the whole water turns black and there's too much methane development also, because it's a process of decomposition without oxygen. Then you create methane, which is a very potent climate pollutant, and eventually what they do is they take it out and they bring it to a depot where it ripens, and this process of ripening makes it a decomposing process. Again, mixes it with oxygen, and when that happens, there's no more methane pollution, and also it becomes a very rich compost, which is actually a storage of CO2. So to speed up this process and to make it more accessible, because right now they fill up trucks with a lot of this wet sludge from the water, and it's 80% water, and then they drive for a while to the depot, they pour it out. So I thought, let's see if we can use the other waste streams, for example the reeds from the riverbanks, as a filter. So to ripen this sludge, so I created a structure out of reed with a frame around it that you can fill with sludge, and eventually the ripening process happens much faster because the reed filters out much of the water, and it allows oxygen to reach a larger surface. When objects like these could be placed next to the water and would be able to filter the sludge at the spot, the trucks don't have to drive around filled with water. And around the Reconstruction, you can see an extra ring where already healthy soil is put in together with plants. And this can have big benefits for the speed of the ripening process. And one more benefit of combining it with already living soil is the fact that you can do a soil transplantation. So when you have a living soil system with fungus in it and bacteria in it, and some plants with rootings in it with symbiosis with these bacteria and funguses, this whole living system you can transplant into the sludge. So you take a piece of healthy soil, put it inside the sludge, and then these microbes, this whole system starts to take over this dead material that is sludge. So from a material you go to a living system. And as soon as you do that, you actually create so much value, because this sludge is suddenly compost, it's suddenly a living system that also is able to retain much more water. And even in the Netherlands, where there's a lot of water, the dry summers are becoming a big problem. So the capability of soil to hold water is becoming more and more evident also for the government. Yeah, as I've shown you in some pictures, it's quite a small-scale experiment right now, but it's a nice way of showing that when you start working with soil and sludge, or soil in general, or maybe earth is a better collection term, you can find a lot of new projects that you can combine with it and that you can stack on it. And for me, it has opened up a world of also purpose, and I wish you all the same. So I hope this raises some questions, and you got inspired to do your own soil-related projects.